Hi, everybody. It's Keith with Bob CNC. Welcome to Shop Talk. You're waving, Bob. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay. Don't. Anyway, we're going to start an 8-part series.
We are.
About what to look for when you want to buy a CNC.
Right. Just the anatomy of the CNC.
Right.
So.
And so this very first one, we're talking about getting started.
Yeah. So, you got to start somewhere. And so, when you're interested in the CNC hobby, you got to figure out, for me, what are you going to use it for? How much money do you have to spend? What's your project size? Right. Because these could all vary in what you're doing. So, well, I guess let's talk. Budget's pretty easy, right? You only have so much money that you can spend, or so much money that you want to spend on this hobby.
Right.
Right. Obviously, if you're most guys, more is better, right?
Well, that's the way I've always saw it.
Yeah, me too. But there's times when if you're like me and you always like to try everything that's new, sometimes maybe a starter model or something less expensive might be helpful also, and especially if you're just learning or if you don't have enough room. So the bottom line is you got to come up with how much money that you want to spend, and to do that, you really need to understand what you're wanting to do. So if you're a hobbyist that's wanting to create some signs or plaques or do some 3D relief carving, it's going to be different than if you're thinking about this is going to be a business. So maybe you're thinking, I'm going to start off with a hobby, but I'm going to try to grow it into a business. So that would be different. So you might think of those type of things. There's for the hobbyist out there, there's sometimes where there's a combination machine where you have like a CNC router. It's got a 3D printer, and then it's also got like a laser on it. I personally don't like those machines, and I'll tell you why. For a router, you really need something more rigid than you do for a laser or a 3D printer, right? They're different speeds, so a CNC router is going to be a lot slower than a laser or a 3D printer. When you're doing 3D printing, you really need a clean environment. A laser is not very clean, and a CNC router makes it not clean, yeah. Right? So they're really just not compatible. So I would definitely recommend that if you're looking for a CNC router, you try to find one that is a CNC router, not one that tries to pull everything off at once. Now, if you only have room for one machine and you don't mind all the cleaning process and some of the compromises, life is always a compromise. So that may be work for you. But the reasons I don't like those are the ones that I gave. So,
well, what about power?
Power is good, but you gotta, if you buy a really expensive machine, it's probably going to be 3-phase power. In most residential areas, you don't get 3-phase power. So if your shop only, most, I should say all, right?
Yeah, I don't know any 3-phase residential neighborhoods.
Yeah. But if your shop only has 110, that you'll want to do that. But some of your bigger spindle motors will require 220. And some of them don't. So yeah, you want to make sure that you got that covered. The other thing is if you're growing business, there's this thing out there that, this philosophy that says, I got to get the biggest one that I can get because, I'll be able to do more, right? So if I have, let's say I have 2 foot by 2 foot, I can do a 4 foot by 4 foot, I can do 4 projects. But that may not work out. So if your project size is 2 foot by 2 foot, and you have your one machine that costs $10,000 that will do, the 2 foot by 2 foot or 4 foot by 4 foot, so you can do 4 over the up. You could buy a $2,000 machine and you could have 5 of them that would do 2 foot by 2 foot. Well, holy cow! You could actually, for the same amount of time, you would actually get 5 instead of the 4 because your bigger machine only has 1 spindle, so it can only do 1 at a time. So don't think that it has to be as big as it has to be. It needs to be as big as your largest project.
Well, another thing too is when you're talking about the size, you have to consider there's a couple of things you're going to see when you're shopping. You're going to see cutting area, and you're going to see that confused with footprint.
Oh yeah,
footprint's the overall size of the machine. That's really important when you are laying out your shop.
Right.
I've got a machine, the 733, which has a 36 by 36 inch cutting area, but I've got to have at least 2.5 feet all the way around that machine.
Yeah,
so
the
I can
machine
move it.
itself is actually 4 foot by
It
4 foot.
eats up half my
Yeah.
shop.
Yeah, well, you need a bigger shop.
Yeah, I do need a bigger
Yeah.
shop. I wish
Yeah.
I'd thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're doing this video.
There you go.
It would have helped me.
Yes.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. A little late.
Yeah, a little
So,
late.
so the bottom line is you need to know how much space you have,
Yes.
the largest project size you have, what kind of budget, what is the purpose. You definitely should think through these things so that, as you go through, we're going to go over, we're going to talk about spindles, drive systems, rail systems. We're going to try to cover everything about CNC. And if you want it all, well, you have to pay for it all, but you may not need it all, or it may not even be beneficial, some of the things for you. So depending on what you need. So
these are kind of shopping hints as you're
yeah.
considering and looking around. One more thing.
Yeah.
When you talk about purpose, you you have to be thinking about the material that you want to use. We'll have a lot of guys that say, well, can you cut aluminum?
Right.
Or can you do brass?
Right.
Or can you do etching? Or, so you're working with glass. We've even had people that have wanted to do stonework.
Yes.
And there are machines designed for those specific needs. And you can't be thinking in terms of just, this is a really cool project I'd like to do. And it might be a one-off and you'll never do another one. You're going to do almost all your work in wood. And
Right.
you have to be thinking realistically, what am I going to use this machine for? And how often am I going to use it for that thing?
So if we had to make a summary of this, it would be
Yeah.
you need a budget.
Right.
Right. You need to understand the purpose.
Yep.
You need to understand the project size, and I like that, the
Yep.
material that you're going to be cutting.
Yep.
Right. And then what
Power.
is the power that you have available, and the size, space, or the room in your shop that you have available.
Oh, yes. And really remember, when the shop, we've got a guy in Florida. He is a great guy. I love him with all my heart. His Evolution 3 is on his kitchen table.
Oh my.
He doesn't have a garage.
Mm.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work at my house.
No.
I'm not going to
no.
say why.
He's single.
But I think she knows.
Well, anyway, guys, if you have any questions about CNC, you can get a hold of us at where can you get a hold of us?
Well,
I forgot.
Info at Bob CNC,
See?
help desk at Bob
Help,
CNC,
yes, that too.
shop talk at BobCNC.com.
Okay. Yes. I just went blank.
We should do a I forgot at BobCNC.com.
I'd forget it.
Till next
We'll
time,
see you
guys.
guys.